My name's David Blandy, and I'm a video artist who's been working with video games for the last 25 years, using the space inside video games to talk about our contemporary reality. And of course, when I saw Danielle Braithwaite-Shirley's work, it immediately struck a chord, because this is work that not just uses the visual tropes of video games, but is actually embedded within it. The viewer is not just a viewer, it's a participant in this work. And this isn't just work that takes the high gloss sheen of video games, but actually works with the dirty, glitchy side of video game graphics. The brokenness, the things that happen when the code breaks down. Yeah, one of the first things that Danielle Braithwaite-Shirley's work reminded me of when I first saw it was N64 graphics. Graphics like for games like Sin and Punishment or Zelda Ocarina of Time. Very simple shapes covered in quite complex textures, creating both vistas, but also very claustrophobic spaces, lots of fog and darkness. Quite like the early PlayStation 1 game, Silent Hill. And another thing it reminded me of was I had a PlayStation 1 when it first came out, and they had notoriously bad lasers. They would break down quite regularly. And this happened to me while I was playing a game called Track and Field by Konami. And all the figures started becoming distorted and strange, and the arms began flying out and filling the screen with sort of strange polygonal shapes, so that the whole body became like this mess of polygons. And there's something about that brokenness which is in Danielle's work. The other thing that Danielle's work does is it implicates so intensely the viewer. Your position as both societally, culturally, racially, is there kind of straight at the front. Is this work for you? Is one of the first questions that you're asked really, as you confront the work. Are you one of the colonized or the colonizer? Are those your ancestors? This is sort of the central tenet of this work. Are you black, trans, or are you other? It essentially others a vast swathe of the audience, including me. Reversing the standard idea of what the neutral viewer is, the default. I, as white, middle-class, cis man, am not the default in this work. I'm the one to be excluded. And that's a really important and powerful position for an artwork to take. You enter into it knowing that you're kind of there only, you're being almost human to be there, and that you can access it only in the ways in which Danielle wants us to access it. Yeah, you're taken through these narratives, and in some ways it's a bit like in Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid. There's a section in which this character, Psycho Mantis, is playing with your mind. You're no longer able, as the player, to control your character properly. Every input is reversed. And the only way to get around this is to actually physically take the controller out of the socket and place it into another controller socket, the two-player one. And there's something about that feeling of almost kind of reversing polarity, of taking something that's known, the video game space, and then kind of inverting it, subverting it, that Danielle does so cleverly, so powerfully in this work. It becomes a very intense, visceral experience to play through one of Daniel's games. Although Daniel's work is very virtual, it uses video game graphics, it's like you're kind of looking inside the machine. It's in fact incredibly bodily. Often Daniel's own voice is in the work distorted or almost corrupted, becoming this voice from the ether. And at the same time, a lot of the textures, I think almost all of the textures, are taken from actual bodies, the bodies of Black trans people that Daniel's worked with, literally re-skinning this environment with these other lives. It creates an incredibly visceral space, I think, especially once you realise this is what's been done. Before that, it's patently, I guess, surreal, mystic. There's a kind of psychedelia to it, but it's an intense one where it's like moving into kind of that space between dream and nightmare, where you're not quite sure how this is going to turn. Is this going to be a dream, a bad dream? And I think that's something that Danielle really likes to play with in the work, both the viewer's comfort, discomfort, but also a sense of what is reality. So, the work as a whole, the practice becomes like a massive ARG, augmented reality game, or everything reality game, where there are all sorts of different facets that exist across, say, the internet and real life and the space of the gallery and a phone message that you might receive. All of these things kind of work together to form a total feeling of like, is this part of the reality of the work, or is this something else? And I think, there's that comes from, in some ways, a recreation of the tactics of these augmented reality games, but also from ideas of piracy and pop-ups and people taking over your computer and holding it ransom. I think there's an extent to which Daniel Braithwaite Shirley likes to take the viewer hostage during the work. It takes us to a different place. I can't wait to see what comes next.